So, guys, I made a comment for SMB Boxing to make another video of the worst fights in boxing history. And I really did. I waited a long time, and I told him there was one fight that I really didn't like. Now, guys, remember when I talked about minutes ago with Tyson lost against Kevin McBride in 2005, which was his last fight? That was his loss. Well, before that fight, he took on another guy named Danny Williams. And of course, that fight took place in July 30th, 2004. It was a full year and a half when Tyson was out of the ring since February with his Clifford Yoon fight, first round knockout, blah, blah. But yeah, after that famous first round knockout came to an end, which was actually one of the scary good knockouts for Tyson, mostly William defeated Mike Tyson. And by December 11th, 2004, he lost against Klitschko in horrific fashion of knockouts. So what happened? Well, they decide to put on a tune-up fight to bring Williams back. Now, guys, just to point this out, William has had a lot of interesting stuff in his career. The time when he even went for the title eliminators back in 2004, when he actually broke someone's bicep torn months before his Tyson fight. There was another time where, well, the time when he got knocked down several times against Sinam Samil Sam in 2003, and how that fight felt like he was done for. Or the time in 2000 when he took on against Mark Potter. And at that time, in one of the few rounds of the fight, he dislocated his right shoulder early in the fight before coming back to stop him with punching with his left, and won by around 6 TKO in that fight, and how that fight went. But this right here cements the dawning of an end of a British fighter's career. I saw this fight a long time, about a few months ago, and I wanted to ask SMB Boxing. I made a comment on one video. I can't find that comment, but I told him, review the fight, Danny Williams versus Zoltan Petranyi, June 4th, 2005. It's a horrible fight, and it explains what boxing can do when a person's career is dead. And I really waited for this, but when I looked up and I realized that he just made the video as a couple weeks ago, a couple of days ago, I just found the video, part 2, boxing's worst fights. And to be honest, this has to be a fight so bad to talk about. And even though this is the third topic out of 4 I'm talking about, this is the only fight I'm going to talk about of the entire list. This, I really don't know what to say about this, because I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to type on the video and no, because it's been a while since I didn't know what the video, I haven't seen it in a couple of days, so I'm going to click on this video and find it. So give me a second. Here it is. Okay. Oh man, my gosh, I can't believe. Oh man, the Unity Young. Oh gosh, that fight. Oh boy, that fight gives me a headache sometimes. Anyway, so guys, this fight, this fight right here to let you viewers know how bad this fight is, this, guys, this fight is so bad. Guys, this fight was so bad. And I'm sorry for pausing so much because I really don't want to talk about this fight. So, like I said before, guys, so William thought it was a good idea to get a tune-up fight to warm himself up against a better fighter in the near future. Which kind of worked, but not in the way you expected. And I'll explain that until this is over. So yeah, William defeats Tyson, and then months later he loses against Petranyi Klitschko. And after following a 6-month layoff after his 4th career defeat against Klitschko, which SMB said, it's so that, and guys, the reason I picked this fight for SMB to talk about is because of how terrible it was. After his loss against Klitschko, he decided to put up a tune-up fight. And this fight was ridiculous. And the commentators commentating this fight knows how ridiculously bad this was. This, guys, you have to understand. This, guys, Zoltan Petranyi, 18 wins, 14 losses from Hungary, and he would box until 2018 for a 22-year span from 96 to 2018 with a record of 56 wins, 19 knockouts, 17 out of 24 of his losses by knockout. 81 fights. That's ridiculous. And his losses were against some people that were nobodies, but some that were somebodies but forgotten. Like, if I had to talk about each fighter he lost against before he took on Williams, this would be a long video. But yeah, his record and even his winning record resumes were sloppy against nobody opponents. Even the fighters that were somebody opponents that he fought against were better than him. Yes, he defeated a couple people with undefeated records, I guess, but there wasn't much to talk about this guy. He comes into this fight as a ridiculous character. When you look at Petranyi's record, the opposition was horrible. 22,000 people saw this fight. This fight reminded me of Jake Paul in his second professional fight against that short basketball player. You know, the fight that took place before the main event of Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. in that exhibition fight in 2020. That's what this fight reminded me of. Because even though Williams struggled to land a shot in the first minutes to hurt the Hungarian, because there were times there were clinches. The Hungarian sometimes, even when we tried to charge after Williams, he would clinch him. Sometimes he would duck down low and get clinched as much. In the first couple minutes of the fight, Williams couldn't even land a good shot. And there was so much sloppiness that there was one moment where the Hungarian threw the punch on his left, and then Sonny Williams ducks, and now he has his arm caught, and he's trying to throw. It was ridiculous. And it happens again. He throws a right hand with 1 minute 20 seconds left, and he gets dropped down. Like, we get a tiny bit of a couple punches in a right hand from Williams, but like, this is ridiculous. And with only 1 minute left of the first round, with clinching and clinching, I wouldn't say it was a boring fight, but a fight that was ridiculous, because this is a guy that defeated the Iron Mike Tyson, a guy that lost against Petranyi Klitschko, and now he's struggling against this guy that has no lethargical competition. It was bad. you come to the end of round one, and it was a 10-8 score. And then we come to round two, and the same thing. Now, the fight would get interesting, but for all the wrong reasons. In the first minute of the second round, at around 50 seconds, Petranyi tries to clinch him again, and Danny Williams puts his gloves around his neck and just wrestles on, and referee tells him to stop and such. And then about another 30 seconds later, almost in the halfway mark, it's like Petranyi was going to go for an NFL tackle or something. Like, he moves his body, and then he throws his left, and he jumps on top. As he misses with his left, Williams goes down, and Petranyi jumps onto his body. And as he does it, he puts Williams onto his armpit, and he punches in the back with his arm. He punches while he was like, this was like a Three Stooges skit where, you know, the episode Punch and Drunks, episode 2 of the Three Stooges in 1934, where Curly had to box a person at the time because he was a professional boxer, because every time he hears Pop Goes the Weasel, whether Larry was playing the violin, he goes crazy and berserk and knocks out people. But of course, Larry is trying to find something because his violin broke, and Curly has a problem. And there was a time he was clinching, and the fighter he was fighting against was punching him in the back with his right behind his back while putting a headlock on him the same way. That was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that the commentator said, as he throws that punch, the commentator said, and I quote, "That is the strangest punch I think I've ever seen anybody attempt." Unless if you haven't watched the Three Stooges. It's ridiculous. There's so much entertaining weirdness going on. The fight goes by pretty fast, but it's not the horrible fight, but it's horrible for what would happen for Danny Williams' career in the future, because he would lose fights for the rest of his career and barely win fights. By the final minute of the fight, there was a moment with only 30 or 40 seconds left of the second round. So guys, this is what happened. I see the fight. Petranyi is going to charge after Williams to throw an interesting, probably a two-punch combination of left and right. But then he throws a left, maybe connected, and throws a right, goes, but then Williams ducks, swings, and then he hits the ground, knockout. I could not see if Williams threw the punch on him. It looked like that when looking at the replay and freeze framing it video by video at first. It looked like Williams might have connected a tiny punch on him, but you could see it because in live, the hard camera is looking at Petranyi's backside, blocking the front side of Williams. So you can't see if he connected the punch or not. So it seemed like he stumbled at first, which was ridiculous. But they counted as a knockout. But then they show us a downward play, a guy down outside of the ring. And it does show Williams Williams threw the tiny jab that didn't hurt that much, I guess. But I guess Petranyi never got involved with hard punches like that. So, yeah. And then he punches him. He throws a left punch. Petranyi gets back up. He throws a left punch, and then down goes Petranyi. The bell rings. At this moment, I scored 10-8, 10-7 in round 1 and 2 for Williams. Like, it's bad. And this is the moment where the fight got worse. So the fight starts in round 3. 20 seconds into the fight, now the Hungarian Petranyi is still clinching on to Williams. And as Williams managed to push him back a tiny bit, he managed to throw this good right punch. Down goes the Hungarian again. I'm like, just end this fight. Just end this fight. This is a struggle of a fight. A heavyweight contender is fighting against this guy, and it's ridiculous. He gets back up, and then Petranyi tried to jump attack him or something, or try to clinch him and under, and then he backs on and he makes a like the way the Hungarian runs and moves, like, it's a really bad fight. And this is the moment, guys, where it all comes to an end. The final seconds of the fight coming to an end, he throws on a punch, and then the Hungarian backs, goes under, and Williams just throws some body punches under him. And then he felt some pain, and then he throws some wild punches. Petranyi throws a wild punch and then clinches him again, going to clinch him again. Like, every time he goes for a clinch, he ducks, goes under, and clinches him. Remember, guys, remember that basketball player that took on against Jake Paul? What's the guy that Jake Paul took on against in 2020 in his second professional fight again? Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson would do the same thing. He used all his energy in the first round, and around the second round, all he would do is move forward under to clinch Jake Paul. And Jake Paul would know it. And the end of the fight, he tried to go for a clinch, and Jake Paul just bammed him, and he hit the canvas. Match is over. This guy would do the exact same thing. And it was so, like, he's holding on for dear life. And the fight ends where he goes for it. He's going to duck again. And Williams just, out of nowhere. He puts in this he goes for the duck, and Williams sets him up for it. And, it was painful to watch, because you know that the fight has to be over. Now, the punch in replay might not have been that bad, but you know it hurts. He gets back up, but the referee waves the fight off, and that's it. Guys, you want to know what makes this worse? It makes this fight worse because my nose is itching. And it's not fun because I keep talking too much. But listen. As they announced, they announced the winner of Danny Williams winning the fight at the time, as they do. The commentator says Danny Williams has gone from fighting the best heavyweights in the world to the worst. It's so bad to just witness that. Like, you could tell this was not a good thing for Williams. Now, luckily, he would come in December the 10th this year to take on the 2000 gold medalist winner, Audrey Harrison. And he would win by split decision. He would take on Matt Skeleton in February and win by split decision in that 12-round fight. But then he would lose in a rematch 5 months later, but still. And then lose in a rematch with Audrey Harrison in 2006. And by the year of 2008, and by the end of the decade in 2009 and everything else, his boxing career would go out the toilet. Lose against Derek Chisora, Manuel Achar in 2011. His career in these moments in his life, of how he lost fights in 2010, all the way from times in 2000 and, oh my gosh, from 2014 and such. And, oh boy, and some of the fights he lost against were against nobodies, and some were against debut fighters and such. It was bad. And he would continue losing other fights as time goes. But yeah, ever since his last fight come last August against some random dude named Luisin Loizao, ? And that guy is ranked 254 from the country of Kripas, also from Republic of Congo, which he was born in. He's 10-0. So, yeah, good luck if that guy has a chance for a champion. But, yeah, you could tell that this settled the score. Like Williams' career by 2005 and everything else in 2007, by the end of 2009, his career died. It's sad, but it is what it is.